What is up? It is the Erskin Music Show. So glad you guys could join me once again. Here we are in the home studios of the Erskin Music Show in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know what's going on with the light around here. We've got more light than we have ever had before. I don't know if it's the sun is shining outside and inside, but so excited that you guys could join me today. We got Big Head in the studio. Big Head is back. Big Head has made the trip back from Georgia in a UPS truck with bubble wrap, and he is safe and sound. You ready, Big Head, for a good show? Yep. Yep. That's long. All right. So Ruby and Scooby are also on the show with me as well. Got Ruby and Scooby in the back there doing their thing. So they're going to be joining in the show as well. Say, how are they going to be joining in the show? They're inanimate objects. Well, you'll see a little bit later on. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. The comment section is turned on. In fact, yeah. For those of you who are listening on YouTube, Facebook Live, and or Twitch, the comment section is turned on as we are streaming simultaneously to all of those locations at the same time. And as always, I want to let people know that preferably, especially with a show like this, the snarkier your comments, the better off they are. We already have some comments that are pouring in. People all over the world are pouring in. All right. Well, or Mayoshi. Good morning. And what's up? And Tony, what's up? Mayoshi, what's up? Turned off Steve Lawson to listen to me. I love it. That's fantastic. Good. Nah, he's awesome. I'm sure he was teaching the Bible faithfully and biblically as he normally does. We have the Dolphins in the studio. Wouldn't be an Erskin Music Show without the Dolphins. And so probably by virtue of title today, there's some people who are going to be tuning in to figure out what's Erskin going to say about vaccinations. Oh, I have been waiting for literally months to do this show. If you guys know me at all, you know that I'm a guy that I am not afraid to jump in the middle of, but that's not always profitable, nor is it always helpful. And so my wife, Kelly, told me, you know, if the Erskin Music Show is not going, and during the summer seasons, I'm usually on the road traveling a lot. So I don't try to keep up with the Erskin Music Show. We'll do a season in the fall, a season in the spring, and then go a little bit into summer. But when I start traveling in summer, we shut the show down, give a couple of spot announcements along the way, updates throughout the summer, but we don't keep the show going. So in the summer, there was just a lot of stuff that was going on, vaccinations, a lot of debate that was going on. People were talking about alternative methods. People were questioning the research and the science and all those different discussions. And I was just like sitting here going, oh, I want to speak to this issue, but I'm not going to jump in the middle of people's debates and arguments and things like that until it's my time. And now it is my time. Last week, you guys will know that I did a show on gender dysphoria. That was episode 1. I just wanted to come out of the box and just do something kind of light, easy, take it easy, make everybody happy kind of show. So we did gender dysphoria. And then our second show last Thursday was on conspiracy theories. So going to get to the vaccination war here in just a few minutes here. But yeah, it's the Erskin Music Show, and we got a format here. We got to thank our sponsors. We have none. But we got to tell people that they can sponsor and that they can be a part of this experience various ways. So I have a PayPal link that I'll put up tomorrow. Probably Thursday. So this week's lineup is going to be really cool. I've got vaccinations today. I've got vaccinations tomorrow. And then on Thursday, I believe I have one of the East Nashville Police Precinct police officers who is in charge of community relations. Is going to be on with us and just, sharing some experiences. And we're going to talk probably get into the whole Black Lives, Blue Lives, All Lives Matter discussion, just a tinge, just a teeny bit. And so, as you guys know, the Erskin Music Show, since we're not sponsored by anybody, we have brand sponsors. Holt International, you can see them in the back. Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Life Action Ministries, and Nick Ripkin's ministry. I mean, there's a lot of people who appreciate and love the show, that love Erskin music and love what we do, but we don't actually have any sponsors of the show. So there's nobody to thank. So therefore, there's really nobody that can cancel the show. If I cancel the show, it's because I wanted to cancel the show, and so that's kind of why we kind of float under the radar of cancel culture. I guess there could be some. Then that needs to happen. Um, wheel. So anyway, that's gonna go on here, but I've got to let you guys know that there's some music that's coming up here on the show. Thank all of you guys for watching so far and commenting. The more comments you guys give me throughout the show, I think the more people are actually allowed to see the show. And so I think that's kind of the way that, as I've studied this in the off season, you kind of master the algorithm. So if you guys would jump on, make a couple of comments. I can't always respond to all the comments. Some of you guys write lengthy tomes to me, and that's fine. But what I try to do in the show notes today is I try to put information from the CDC, WebMD, and then there's an article in Relevant Magazine. They didn't quite say what it is that I'm going to say today, but they just kind of, I'll read a little bit from their article today. And so we'll jump into this thing in just a second, but it is the Erskin Music Show. And so let us get some music going here this morning. So you can comment on the music. You can comment on a wide variety of things that's going to go on here today in the Erskin Music Show. I'll see you guys in just a second. We got some music queued up for you. This is Do What You Got to Do from me. God bless.
What you gonna do? What you gonna say? Is it time to run or is it time to stay? Is there anyone or anything that would take all you got to get everything? Your heart's pumping, no stopping, like a tidal wave that keeps coming. You're running and running for something, yeah, yeah. You're gonna make it some way, somehow. No one's gonna keep you down when you know what you're supposed to do. Then go do what you gotta do. Some way, somehow. I know you can turn it around when you know what you're supposed to do. Then go do what you gotta do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do what you gotta do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do what you gotta do. Tell everyone, everywhere, go hard or go back from where you came. It's a big deal. This is so real. Can't stop it now. It's such a great thrill. Your heart's pumping, no stopping, like a tidal wave that keeps coming. You're running and running for something, yeah, yeah. You're gonna make it some way, somehow. No one's gonna keep you down when you know what you're supposed to do. Then go do what you gotta do. Some way, somehow. I know you can turn it around when you know what you're supposed to do. Then go do what you gotta do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can see the other side. Don't give up and don't stop trying. No matter what's in front or what's behind, you're gonna make it some way, somehow. No one's gonna keep you down when you know what you're supposed to do. Then go do what you gotta do. Some way, somehow. I know you can turn it around when you know what you're supposed to do. Then go do what you gotta do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do what you gotta do. Yeah, what you gotta do.
Yes, indeed. That was the song "Do What You Got to Do," fan favorite. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. It is now time for one of my favorite segments of the show that we added this year. It's the all right. So it's the That's Weird section. I don't know if this is weird or if I'm weird, but probably both is the case here.
That's weird.
Story comes from Switzerland. Did you know that in Switzerland it is illegal to own just one guinea pig? This is actually the law. This is because guinea pigs are considered a social animal. So if you own only one guinea pig, then you in Switzerland can be charged as a victim of abuse because you've left that one guinea pig all by itself. Could have been two, should have been three, maybe more. So if you're a guinea pig owner here in the United States or future owner of guinea pig, just know if you try to take that nonsense to Switzerland, they're gonna. I don't know what they're gonna do. They'll probably fine you. I don't know if they'll put you in jail, but yeah, guinea pigs, they're social. Can't just put one of them. That'd be considered abuse there. I'm gonna have to push the button on that one and say
That's weird.
yep. So that segment is over. Let's get to our topics today. Doggone it, people are making comments already. All right, come on, Rock and Ron. I got you. Yeah, thanks. That hamster is getting it done. Yes, for the That's Weird section, that'd be awesome if you guys would put on your cowboy hat as I put on my cowboy hat. And then Mayoshi wants to let us know that in Switzerland, we're about to start an international debate and international war here with Switzerland because the guinea pigs are a delicacy. Ooh, here we go. Yes, I love it. Like I said, the snarkier, the better. But let's get into our topic today. As you guys know, there are three principles, and I was sitting around in the off season and just studying. I've been watching all these different shows. I watched Southside Rabbis with KB. I watched Ruslan. I watched John McCrae. I've been studying and watching all of these guys. Alan Parr, fantastic shows that are out there. But I just, for me, I had to come with something and just say, why is Erskin doing this show? We are no longer sort of in that period of the pandemic where nobody can go out. We're all sort of just locked in our houses. And so it seemed like every artist was doing a show at that time and everybody wanted to do live stream and everybody had, basically nothing to say, but we're just trying to stay relevant. And I started getting on there and thinking, man, music artists who have a platform usually don't speak out in regards to issues. Unless it's like some kind of outlandish thing. Like there's no artists that I know who are just out there just like killing it. And I've mentioned a bunch of names of people who I listen to, but like mainstream kind of Christian contemporary artists, I don't know if like they're not allowed to speak on subjects like this or if they just deem that it, they could get canceled. So yeah. Anyway, so I started speaking on some of these things and thinking, man, I think that this is fun to do. Other people would probably be a little bit nervous about this, but I've really enjoyed this format and the ability to be able to do these things. And since I'm an independent artist, we just do it. So anyway, there's three principles that I came up with. And the first one is that faith over fear. We are so motivated in our culture by fear and factors of fear that you can generally see the course of how things travel in our society based on how fearful or what people feel as at stake in relationship to something that they fear in our culture. But I would say in this show, and what I try to do in all of our commentary is just to give us an aspect of faith and how our faith overcomes those fears that are in front of us. And so I think that speaks volumes in the whole discussion of Black Lives Matter. I think that speaks volumes in the whole conversation that we're going to be having today and future conversations that we have. What are people fearful of? If you show me where the fear factor is, I'll show you where the faith factor should be applied. Second principle that we have in this show is that every challenge is an opportunity. If there's a hurricane, there's an opportunity for shelter, safety, relief, encouragement, all those different things. If there's a disaster, there's an opportunity for Christians to be able to position themselves in a place where or we're caring for, maybe helping to prevent future disasters. But there's a lot of opportunities that come just from disaster. Most of our lives, most people want their lives to be easy, no storms, nothing that ever happens. Think about it in relationship to your neighbors. Unless there's something bad that happens to your neighborhood, you're probably not going to get a chance to know your neighbors. People generally try to stay to themselves, stay out of the mix, and we just kind of go through this existence, kind of doing what it is that we want to do until we get pressed into a situation where we have to engage people, and then we find out, the strength of those relationships and begin to develop new relationships. And so problems, yes, they are problems. Not going to try to absolve that. But problems are also, for the believer, for the one who has a biblical mindset, an opportunity for us to engage in a new way. What is that, big head? Oh, yeah, the third one? Yeah. So everybody has responsibility. There's no JV Christians that are out there. I know that there's some platforms who may be more public than others, and there's some platforms that may be more well funded than others, but all of us have a responsibility. All of us have a responsibility. If we're a follower of Jesus Christ, we all have a responsibility to use whatever influence, whatever platform, whatever circumstances God gives us to advance the kingdom of God. Seek first the kingdom of God, to advance the kingdom, to advance the king's message, the gospel, and let people know what is what. So let's jump into this topic today. All right, so we got the CDC up there. We've got WebMD, and we got relevant magazines. And I guess for full disclosure on this, like, I have been vaccinated, and I'll let you guys know the context of that as we go along through this discussion. I have been vaccinated. I have been vaccinated. Is there any unclearness about what it is? I have been vaccinated, both the poke. All right, so that's a thing, and that was derived not from listening to conspiracy theories, but knowing that I was going to be traveling in a variety of different places, as I do and continue to do. Um, I, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I've never been fearful of this virus, and I know that I'm probably in the 1%. And so I just want to put this out there for full disclosure. Like, we stopped traveling for the month that we could not travel because everybody was down that month. But because the platforms and venues that I play in are often sometimes very small, sometimes outdoors, after that we just continue to travel. And because there were no large camps, sometimes the churches individually would have camps that I would do in the summertime. And so we just continue to do camps, continue to do conferences, continue to do outdoor retreats, and really never stopped. Because when the whole discussion of who is an essential worker started coming out, I very quickly said, well, the most essential worker, in my opinion, is the evangelist and the believer who is going out and sharing the gospel. That is an essential worker, as I count essential workers, because people are going to die. People are going to die without Christ, and then they're going to have an eternity of experiencing the wrath of God. So we should go out and tell them before they die who Christ is and what the response should be to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords: repentance and trust in Jesus Christ. So I felt like I needed to continue to go out, have a family, wife, kids. Look, dad's got to go out. If there's a fire, the firemen don't sit around the fire station and say, man, that looks like that's hot over there. Huh, I hope everybody gets out. No, they go and rush to the scene, and they try to do the best they can. So that has always been my attitude. Um, related to this whole subject. And so we traveled, but I knew that I was going to be traveling some places where there are some people who are vulnerable. And so I said, hey, I'm not really concerned about the coronavirus that much because it seems like people who are generally healthy, like, I got the coronavirus and then I was down for about 3 to 5 days. Didn't feel great. I remember just, kind of shooting baskets there for a while, kind of had a little bit of fever. And then about 5 or 6 days, started feeling good, went for a jog, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm better now. So quarantined for the appropriate time, then went out and started traveling again. Had the antibodies, but I said, you know what? There's going to be people who maybe feel a little bit leery, maybe feel like it's a little bit irresponsible. So I'm going to take the vaccine. I don't think that I'm going to die from the virus, and I don't think I'm going to die from the vaccine. And so, just kind of doing my own research, took the vaccine, wanted to make people feel as comfortable as possible. Because remember, folks, I did it for you. No, it's great. Like, no adverse side effects. That would just be my testimony. Felt very comfortable with what's going on there, and want to be able to tell the vulnerable people, like, hey, this is not an issue, but if you do whatever I need to do, because I'm going to continue to go out there. We're aggressive, get the pedal to the metal, and we're going to continue going out and doing what it is that we need to do. So that's kind of the story as far as that's concerned. I want to read a little bit from Relevant Magazine because I get sort of on the cusp of what it is that I want to talk about here. There has been a great conspiracy, but I think everybody's missed it. I don't know. I don't know, people. I don't know if we got it. So this is Relevant Magazine. This is in the show notes for today. If you want to go back and you read the article in its entirety, you can do so by following the show notes today. But here's what Relevant Magazine said. The reason that people refuse the vaccine, and this is just a general context that I wanted to give today, is for a range of concerns. They want to know how safe the vaccine is. Very legitimate. If you didn't take the vaccine, if you have not been vaccinated yet, there's no shade coming from this show on you. Just you do what you feel like you need to do. Just recognize the day and the context in which we live in. I'll just say that to preempt that discussion. Do what you feel like you need to do. I'm all about you doing what you need to do. That's why we say the song, do what you got to do. So no shade coming from this show. I just want to let you know the reason why this conversation swirls the way that it does. How safe is the vaccine? Very good question, especially when it comes to long-term side effects. Scientists have addressed this question pretty consistently. Legitimate health concerns and reasons why they themselves cannot receive the vaccine. Personal, autonomy and the opportunity to say, hey, I may have some medical things that this vaccine may not be good for me. Gotcha. The CDC's guidelines have been confusing. Yes. Since it changes as the virus is furthered and researched. Yep. And America has a muddied history when it comes to marginalized communities being part of medical studies. We may get into that some other day, but you guys do know that minorities, Black people, and others have been experimented on by medical researchers because we were deemed to be less inferior than white people. So if there's especially Black people who are out there who are just saying, hey, you're not going to do experimental stuff on me. There's a history of that's gone on here in America. We may devote a whole show to that sort of thing because I think there's probably some people who are watching this today that don't know that has actually happened in America. God bless America. We hadn't always gotten it right, but here we go. The vaccine has also been seen as a political issue. People have weaponized this discussion. Yes. All of this that Relevant Magazine is saying is just a context. Check. Getting the vaccine can be seen as aligning with the Democratic Party. Okay, there you go. Leaving many Republicans nervous to get the vaccine. That's an interesting discussion because it does seem that those who have a more progressive agenda, more restrictions, more mandates, Democratic president, government mandates, all those different things, Republicans, by virtue, going to push back against that. Interesting to note, and there's no way to know this from history. I am kind of keeping an eye on the comment section. Interesting to note, Donald Trump was working on vaccines, and if he had been reelected as president, I don't know this for sure, but I only speculate based on what it is that I've seen. I don't know this for sure, but if Donald Trump had been elected president and had encouraged the Republican base to get the vaccine as a public measure of health and safety, conservative people would rush toward the vaccine, and the Democratic and progressive audience would probably rush away from the vaccine because of the leadership that's there. So there is that sort of political mindset that goes on there that says whatever the Democrats do, the Republicans are going to do the opposite. Whatever the Republicans do, the Democrats are going to do the opposite. And that is the political ideology, not the biblical ideology. But some Christians get sucked into that ideology. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. So the Republicans are nervous to get the vaccine because the Democrats are pushing it. Christians in particular have gone the religious route and claim that receiving the vaccine, some, is a lack of faith. I have heard this in places that I've been. Well, I don't need no vaccine. God takes care of us. And I'm like, yeah, but he gives us science and medicine. That's one of the gifts that God. I'm not going to start the debate here. But there have been some believers who have said that. So if you're a believer and you're watching this, we got to talk to our people. And everyone, this is according to Relevant Magazine, just needs to trust God and be healed. Health, wealth, and prosperity, people. Hey, how about that false gospel and false prophecy that we keep hearing from our prosperity friends? Anyway, and still others rely on unfounded and dangerous reasonings. Despite no evidence to this claim, many refuse the vaccine because they believe that it would have been microchipped by the government. Ooh-wee. Where's my little sound effect here? Microchips by the government.
That's weird.
Yep. Or, and here's one of our favorite ones, people have concerns that the vaccine is actually how the COVID-19 is transmitted. Mm. Ooh-wee. I can do one eye like this, but I can't do this eye like that without doing my face. Some believers have even claimed that the vaccine is the mark of the beast. And so I just set the whole landscape of everything that's going on there. Thanks, Relevant Magazine, for just that timely reminder of the fact that we are quagmired in a lot of different things that's going on here. Despite these online theories, conspiracy theories, and such, the vaccine is actually not the enemy. In fact, there are many reasons why the Christians should be the first in line to receive the vaccine. I stopped with their article there and I asked myself the question, wait a minute, something's getting pulled over our eyes and I'm starting to see what it is. Yes, there is something that no one is talking about that they ought to be talking about with more gusto. Ooh, I like this. Yes, I have seen this. And here's the thesis for today. The great vaccine war is not actually really about the vaccine. There is a virus. There is a vaccine. I've taken the vaccine. I had the virus. So all of those things are true. That is time and space, circumstances, and context. But you know what is also true? Satan is lurking somewhere in this discussion, wanting to make sure that he divides us, that he distracts us, and that whereas he destroys us. Here's my sound effect. John 10:10 says, the thief comes but for to kill, steal, and destroy. Jesus said, I have come that they may have life and that they may have life more abundantly. Satan has come to distract us in this whole thing. And you know what I'm seeing more than I am real substantive discussion about the vaccine or the virus or research or actual biblical texts? I am seeing people who are wholly discounting people, disregarding people, disbanding. This almost happened in my own life. I can give a personal testimony. I am on the opposite side of this from several of my friends. And because of some of my language, some of their language, some of the hard edges of this discussion, Satan almost used this to drive a wedge between me and a very good friend who I've been friends with for a while, who is on the opposite side of the discussion. And, it was one of those things where we kind of looked at it and we said, wait a minute. What we have in common and what the goal of our existence is not bound up in whether we take one side or the other. Those binaries of who's right and who's wrong often are dangerous and distracting to us because they cause us to not keep our minds and hearts focused on the mission that we have at hand. We're going to talk more about that specifically tomorrow. But what Satan has done is he's blinded the minds of the unbelieving, and he's got us to think that this is a political discussion. And so we follow that political trail. He's gotten us to think that this is a discussion that has to do only with the realm of medical research. So you find one doctor that says one thing, and you find another doctor that says something else. And so we're just quagmired in confusion on all of these different things, further distracting us, further causing us to go online and do all these different things so that we can say, well, no, those people over there are wrong. They're idiots. They're stupid. If you've not been vaccinated, and I think there's some people in the comment section who are telling me today that they've not been vaccinated, there is no shade coming from this show, because you know what we're going to do? We're going to partner together for the sake of the gospel. If you are not vaccinated, then you probably have some good reasons why you're not vaccinated. And if you are not vaccinated, let me just give you the privilege, if you will, of saying that you've done your research, you've done your homework, you've done what it is that you need to do, and you are still concerned about the greater good and welfare of society. You're just not there. You might not ever be there, but you're still concerned about the hope of the gospel. And you're still concerned about the light of the gospel and the mission of the church. Comments are pouring in. I love it. Let me get to the end of my thesis here. Satan has caused so much confusion that there are literally family members who hate family members now because one took the vaccine and one did not. And you know who's sitting back and he's saying, this worked to perfection. Satan is sitting back and he's like, all I had to do was just, like we talked about, first principle on this show. All I had to do is just raise the fear factor. Now people are afraid of their health. Now people are afraid of the government. Now people are afraid, and they're not talking about me. They're not even thinking about me anymore. They're thinking about how much they hate their neighbor because their neighbor took the vaccine, and that neighbor's so irresponsible, and that neighbor's going to kill themselves, and that neighbor's going to kill it. And people, this this is the great vaccine conspiracy. It is not a government conspiracy. It is not a medical conspiracy. It is the conspiracy that has been foisted upon us by Satan, who has used this to distract and to destroy us and to cause us to be at odds with one another so that we look at one another as enemies, not as image bearers. And furthermore, those who are in the church as being responsible for partnering together for the sake of the gospel. The gospel, and here's my, and I'll get to some of the comments here. The gospel can and should, and I believe once we have these couple of shows that are out there in public circulation, will overcome all the distractions of Satan. His kingdom will not prevail against the church. In fact, the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. The gates are going to get stormed by the kingdom of God and those who are servants of the king. And so let's not get confused about what this actually is. Yes, there's medical research, and do your homework. I mean, WebMD, that's pretty credible. CDC, I mean, we're going to talk about that. If you're sitting here and you're like, CDC, no, I can't trust those guys. Web doctors who have spent their whole entire lives and their whole entire career, and people who, if you sat next to them in class, their grades would be so much better than yours, and you now get the internet, so you're smart. Okay, we're going to get to that in just a second. But I just wanted to say our mission has not changed in the midst of all of this. Come to whatever conclusion you want to. Do your research, do your homework, or don't do your homework. Just but recognize that the enemy is not the person who took the vaccine, or the enemy is not the person who didn't take the vaccine. The enemy is Satan, who is coming to distract and destroy us. Let me get to some comments. Comment section blowing up this morning. I love it. That's going to get this thing out there. For I think that comment got cut off. So there's some people who are, we cannot know the long-term effects from the vax or the virus. We live in time and space, and you can't know the long-term effects of anything because tomorrow is not even promised to you. Do you know, friend, that you don't even really know what's going to happen today? Like, I've got a show that's planned out tomorrow. I've got, things that are on the books. I've got shows that I need to go and do, but you don't really know. So I think the long-term effects, the long-term argument, the long-term research, you guys know this, right? Or maybe you don't know this, but you do know that they've been working on mRNA vaccinations and that kind of technology for maybe decades. The reason why we didn't get it when we were kids, those of us who were maybe in their 40s when they were doing vaccinations, because they didn't have the technology. They didn't. They have been developing the technology, and this will be the technology that's going forward. So I get it. You don't want to take the vaccine, and no disrespect, but just recognize you're not taking any other vaccines that are coming up in the future either, because this is going to be the standard going forward. All right. Thanks for that comment. Thank you so much. And you're welcome to make some more comments. Microchip 666, forehead, hand last. I remember. Yep. So that seems to be the biblical pattern there. And also you can explain that in a lot of different other scenarios. I watched them very closely as they were putting the needle into my arm to see if they had a microchip in there. No microchips. Interesting. No microchips. It's the mark of the beast. Yep. Segregation. Okay. because I am doing all of this. I need a co-host. Big Head, you're supposed to be watching the comment section while I'm doing the commentary. And I had said this a little bit when I do the show with my buddy Jason on the way forward. Like, you got to give me a little bit more explanation because I get going on stuff and then comments come in. If it's like a one word comment, that's cool. Like, I know people got to type fast and everything because I'm, but got to give me a little bit of context. Segregation. Yes, it happens. True. False. Our mission: love Jesus, love people, whatever the opinions are. Rock and Ron, he's got it. He got it. Okay, well, hey. Thank you, Rock and Ron. That is a big, decisive blow. One little word shall fell the enemy here, and that is love. I should have played the song Only Love. If we are coming away from this discussion hating people, and I used to say this all the time about the discussion about Black Lives Matter, like, maybe there's an issue. Like, I heard people say, like, I didn't have a problem with black people until all these Black Lives Matter people started coming out. And now I don't like black people. Maybe that issue actually drove something into your heart that was always there that now has the opportunity to come out. And if any issue, and like I said, problems are always opportunities. If I say it one time on the show, I'll say it 1,000 times. The reason why I do this show is to remind us that problems are opportunities. Problem, virus. Problem, vaccine. Problem, fear. Opportunity, love. To ingratiate yourself. You know what? You may not actually even believe or have the desire to believe what somebody says, but if you sit there and you listen to them, you might learn something. Oh, whoa. Rubies. You mean you could actually listen to somebody and then learn something? No. We already have our minds made up in about the first 10 seconds. And if there's somebody that's around us who like is an influential person, if they said it, then we probably already think it. So the Dolphins approve of that statement there. But yes, love people. If this is causing you not to love people, friend, you have a heart issue. There are people who are not vaccinated. They're not going to get vaccinated. They don't want to get vaccinated. And they may even think that I'm a little bit nutty for doing this show. You know what? I still love you. I did it for you. Because you know what I can say? I probably want to also let you know that I'm considering you and the aged and elderly people who are in your family and around you when I got vaccinated. So, as nutty as I might be to some people who are watching this show and thinking, Erskine is an idiot, he is co-conspirator with Satan.
That's weird.
Oh, that button's going to come out a lot. For those of you who may think that I'm co-conspirator with Satan, really, like in the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing people get saved, watching people get baptized, preaching, teaching, playing, encouraging people to know Christ. And because I took the vaccine, I'm co-conspirator with Satan. Just listen to that for just a second. It makes no absolute sense. That is nonsense. All right, come on. All right. His company is creating a vaccine. All right. Good. All right. Fine. Great. Okay. Yep. Jason, I got you. I think I know several people who are they're still paying attention to this. And that's a good thing. Rock and Ron's got to go to work. We don't listen well in our society. We are basically thinking of our response. Yeah, I totally. And the Dolphins totally agree. All right, so I actually have some notes here because I wanted to not just freestyle, but I wanted to just give you what it is that I think about this. Thanks, sort of Relevant Magazine, for giving us the context of why this is such a tricky discussion. But I want to give you a couple things. For many believers and doctors, the vaccine is a part of answered prayer. And, you know, that has been something that even goes back to the Copernican revolution and how Christians integrate faith and science, faith and medicine into the whole discussion. We pray that God would stop plagues. We pray that God would give us an answer. We pray when there's medical disasters that God would give us the technology. I think if you've traveled anywhere, and maybe this is sort of a geographic bias that I have, you recognize that the quality of care and the quality of medicine in other places outside the United States is not quite the same. And you recognize, certainly as we've been overseas, sometimes for extended periods of time, that some of the medicines that you have available in the United States are not readily available in other places in the world. And so therefore people struggle with sicknesses and they struggle with diseases sometimes that are very preventable because they do not have the medical technology and the medical advancements to be able to treat others, treat society at large, treat themselves when these type of things happen. And so that's just sort of a geographic bias that I have because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the squalor and the poverty and what that does to the human body and how that affects people. And so I say to myself, man, what a blessing. What a blessing to be able to have these medical advancements and medical technologies readily available to us so that we can treat sicknesses, illnesses, and viruses. Um, and so that's just where we find ourselves. We are a foster family, and so as a foster family, part of our certification is we've got to get protestus. It's a vaccination that has to do with issues that affect the medically fragile young children that may come into our care, and so we just got it. Not a lot of research there. It's got a long track record there. It's fine. Okay, and then we're also required to get the flu vaccine this season, and so that's out, and so we've got the flu vaccine, and on and on and on it goes. And so here's my big thought and question for the day. One of two questions: is this the hill that you want to die on? I mean, I know some people who have dug their heels in, like they are probably maybe anti-vaxxers, maybe. And I got a message for anti-vaxxers. Really, if you are wanting to engage people in our culture and society and not go hide out in the woods and start a commune where it's you and four other people and you got your guns waiting for anybody to come on your property and you're stockpiling, those are the only people who are going to disregard this show. Like anybody else I can deal with, but those people, I'm not, they're not going to like this show because I think not only is that an uninformed position, but it's a cowardly position. And the reason why I changed my tone in response to that is because that's antithetical, and we'll talk about that, antithetical to the gospel that would look for opportunities and look for people who are hurting instead of running away from them. You're a coward because you run away and you hide and you get your guns and you don't want anybody else to join you. That's the level of concern that I get from the shade that I'm saying anti-vaxxers. That's not missional, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But here's the deal: is this the hill? And I'm talking to invite back into the room rational thinking people who are listening to this and going, I wonder. I'm kind of still weighing out options, still thinking through. Let me maybe cause you to think about it in this regard. Is this the hill that you want to die on? Ask yourself this question. Can the government create a conspiracy that overturns God's plan and his preordained plan for history? I don't have to wait very long for that response. No, the government cannot. One of the things that I said last week when I was talking about conspiracy theories is if it's your time to be got, you will be got. If it's not your time to be got, you won't be got. And I know that's terrible English, and my English professors saying, we taught you better than this. But all I'm essentially saying is you're not going to circumvent whatever the ordained plan of God is in your life by toppling the government or by toppling big pharma or by coalescing all your guns together and starting a militia and like going out and doing all these different things. I'm not saying you accept everything that happens, but I'm just saying the government is not the final arbiter of what happens. Big pharma is not the arbiter of everything that happens. Anthony Fauci, he's not the arbiter of everything that happens. If Anthony Fauci, ask yourself this question: If Anthony Fauci, if Big Pharma, if all these people wanted to do something and it was not what God or had ordained to happen, would they be able to do it? Now I'm going to test your theology. Come on. Where are the comments? Where are the comments today? If the government wanted to do something and God didn't want it to happen, is it going to happen? There shouldn't be any comments on this other than the fact that no, it's not going to happen. God's will is going to be accomplished. Now, God allows some things to happen, but sometimes He allows those things to happen that are difficult because they create an opportunity for us to engage with our neighbor. I'm going to say that 1,000 times on this show. What about the CDC? It's all a government scam. It's a scandal. Now, if they wanted to do something that God didn't want to have happen, they wouldn't be able to do it. They couldn't do it. If Satan wanted to do something and all of this that God doesn't want to have happen, it's not going to happen. And so we need to be focused more on what God's plan is in all of this. If God didn't want coronavirus to impact believers, then it wouldn't. We would be the people who are walking around like the plagues in Egypt. Like, I don't know. I guess God is, yeah, sorry, Egyptians. I guess you need to come get on our side. But He didn't want to play this one like that. He's playing this one completely different. It's across the board. The rain falls upon the just and the unjust in this situation. And because of that, we need to be mindful of the fact that God has allowed this as an opportunity for us, one, to trust Him, one, to unite in prayer, one, to continue to worship Him, one, to carry out our, and I said one like 4 times. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4 to carry out our mission on this earth. So we need to be focused on God's plan, not all of these other entities that are out there. Now, we should be aware of them. Now, I don't want us to be people who are gullible, but if you're going to live your life constantly in distrust and a lack of confidence in anything and everybody, you're just going to be schizophrenic. And Satan loves to have schizophrenic people who are running around not trusting anybody, because then you're going to go out in the woods and you're going to be like, you know what? I can't trust anybody. I'm going to get my guns. And if anybody comes over here, I'm just ready to shoot them. I'm just going to go get me some land. I'm going to get away from everybody. I'm going to just get all my people together and we're just going to live in this commune together. God bless your nonsense. Secondly, you may need to face some fears in this situation. That's one of the core principles of this show. Fear factor. Faith over fear. What is your fear? Face that fear and maybe do it today. What do you fear? Like, you can jump in the comment section here. I'm watching the Big Head. You watch the comment section. I'm going to keep doing the show. But what is your fear? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of that's going to happen to you? I told my kids when I continue to travel, if I get the virus and I die, you know why I died, because I was dying going out and trying to tell people about Jesus Christ. And then I went to go be with Jesus Christ. So you do the same thing. So I wasn't fearful of that. I wasn't fearful when I started understanding that people who are generally healthy typically don't have anything to worry about, and generally a particular median age of youth don't have anything to worry about. So that wasn't afraid of that. Wow, where's the fear factor in your life? Because all of us are going to have to deal with that. Are we fearful of the loss of freedom? Are we fearful of the loss of freedom? Are we fearful of the fact that if we don't have all of those freedoms, and here I go, I'm meddling this morning. If we don't have all of those freedoms and we don't have all of those rights, we're not going to be able to move forward in our lives. Because the last time I checked, come on, Dolphins. The last time I checked, when the discussion was about Black Lives Matter and the responsibility of minorities in our country to recognize that maybe the playing field hasn't always been level, maybe the circumstances haven't always been in your favor, maybe there's been things that actually have been marshaled against you, it is still your responsibility to take those pieces and to say, you know what, I'm going to have to move forward as we seek to address some of these issues. But the option of just playing the victim card and just saying, well, this has been foisted upon me, hands up, I can't do anything, all I can do is just fight and then make a mess of things, is not a good option. It wasn't a good option then, but I don't think it's a good option now. For all of you freedom-loving, flag-waving, United States of America, grand old flag and apple pie people who are out there, pay attention to the fact that even though the circumstances are not as you would have them to be, we don't have as much medical information is maybe you would like to have. You'd like to have a threshold that says 100% confidence. You get this vaccine. There's no possible way that there could be a breakthrough. There's no possible way that anything could happen. If they developed a vaccine like that, you know what would happen? First of all, there's never going to be a vaccine like that. That's not possible. But if they developed a vaccine that was 100% safe, you could take this vaccine, you're not going to get sick, nothing's going to happen. You know what would probably happen? You'd probably go out, drive in your car today to go to Subway. I just gave them a free plug today, but they do have that good Cali sandwich. Anyway, you go to Subway, you get in a car accident, you die. Like, you're still going to die. So, like, what are we fighting for here? Face your fears, face them today. Telling blacks and minorities that things aren't perfect, but you still got to move forward is the same thing I'm telling you today. You might not be a black or a minority. Blacks. Oh, big kids. You can't say blacks. Ruby and Scooby said you can't say blacks. African American. All right. But I can say, can I not say it? I'm black. No, it's not politically correct. Oh, okay. Anyway, we're having an internal discussion here. But telling people to face their fears and the fact that even though the situation is not as you would want it to be, you still got to move forward in some kind of way. It's not perfect, but you still must do what you can to make things as best as you can. That's, Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine that men may see your good works and glorify the Father in heaven. That we are a city that's set on a hill, and that whole passage there talks about the fact that we are the leavening agent in society. We don't ever get things the way that we want them to be. That's the grand illusion of Satan, and that's the grand illusion of our Western culture, is we think that we can get things to play out the way that we want it to play. We got a lot of money, we got a lot of influence, we got a lot of technology, we got a lot of this, and we got a lot of that. And we fall into the illusion that we get things the way that we want them to be. So people start rattling the cages of the church and saying, well, your worship services, you're gonna have to get, hey, 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 hey. And so I just want us to recognize that we never get the playing field the way that we want it. We just get the opportunity to go into a broken playing field and be that salt and light that God would use. All right, get back to this comment section. Am I saying that anti-vaxxers are equal to hide in the woods people? Oh, that's a good question, Mayoshi. That's a good question. I think that the anti-vaxxers, as constituted by people who spread conspiracy theories, who are unfounded, I have some concerns. I do. God either calls it or allows it. There's no other choice. Okay, go to Bible study. Okay. Yeah, I get it. Comments. Why is the comment thing not telling me that there are comments that are coming in? Big Head, you're supposed to be watching the comment section here. All right, so here's my other thesis. Perhaps this is an off-road to another area in ministry. I've got friends and family members who are in the medical field who are required to take the vaccine, and they are saying, maybe not. Got some options here. Got some very real options for you. You could quit. Yes, that's an option. And people are exercising that option. They're saying, you know what? I'm just not comfortable with this. I'm not going to do it. Peace. And actually, I'm not even throwing shade at you, because that's a very real and legitimate, very important, and maybe life-altering decision that you're going to make, to walk away from a field that you've been in for many years because of a vaccine mandate. But that is a very real choice that you're making. You're making that choice. And as a result of that, you will no longer be employed with, or no longer be working with. And that's a hard decision, but that is a decision. And if the case comes down to it, you may need to make that decision because you're a person of such conviction. That's fine. That's great. You may lose your job. You may quit your job. But here's my thought, and tell me what you think about this. Just because you have lost your job or quit your job doesn't mean that God is done with you. Like, if your convictions are such that you are like, hey, I can't. I can't. Then no shade, because hospitals, I think, have the right to tell people in their care what kind of medical procedures they're going to use. You could go work for another doctor who doesn't have those same medical procedures and restrictions, maybe, and stay in the field. Or this may be God's off road for you to go and do another type of ministry that perhaps you've not been engaging in. It is very possible that folks who are coming out of the medical field, who are now seeing opportunities to do other things that are more more or in line with kingdom advancement, should be looking at those not as a curse against you, but as a blessing that God has repositioned you in a place where you can now be productive, more kingdom productive than you were before. It's possible. I know we want everything to work out the way that we want to. We love happy endings in our culture. Person of conviction. I think maybe a lot of us saw the movie Hacksaw Ridge. It was about conscientious objections to carrying a firearm into a war. Um, but if Desmond Doss, I think, which is that what that story is about, had gone in, he'd gotten shot, that would have been the repercussion of what was his decision. And he wouldn't have been upset about that. The people that he saved wouldn't have been upset. They just would have known that that's the consequence of the decision. So your job is gone, but there's a new opportunity that's been created as a result of that. Um, but I want to say this also for those who are just like, hey, I'm going to quit my job, and then we're all going to quit our job, and there's not going to be any people who are working here, so I'm going to stick it to the man. I don't know. I don't know if that's always the right response. Like, we're going to stick it to the man, so your hospital is going to be less staff now, and then the people who need medical attention and medical care are not going to get it because you're standing on the sideline picketing or your sidewalk picketing. I don't know. I just wanted to maybe have a discussion about that and present that as maybe that's not the wisest course of action. If you feel like this is the same kind of discussion I would have with teachers in the public school. Like, the public school is an absolute nightmare in terms of the content of what it is that they're teaching, but it is the public school. And we do want some form of education among our populace so that we're not an uneducated and uninformed society. Hence, hint, hint, wink, wink. My whole shade that I'm throwing at some of the fringes of anti-vaxxers. So we don't want to be uninformed about what's going on. And so we have what we want, and what we have, maybe two different things, but we have a public school system that is an absolute nightmare in terms of all the different agendas that are foisted upon kids in the public school. You could take your kids out of school. You could, if you're a teacher, not teach there and teach at a private school, teach at a Christian school. Or you could, if there's a mass exodus of people who are leaving from the public school, just completely bankrupt the public schools and just leave that thing in utter disarray and harm all those kids. Or you could say, I don't love the curriculum there, not with the LGBTQRST elemental P agenda, but I'm going to stick this out so that I can be light and salt in a place that's very difficult. You could. Those are some very real options that are there. Okay, you could seek a religious exemption, and it looks like I'm right at an hour right now, so I want to kind of shut this down. I only got to one of my 4 things, and so tomorrow I'm going to speed it up a little bit. But I'm just going to finish with these sort of notes that I have here. You could seek religious exemption, and you could say, because of my religion, I am not able to follow this mandate, and then you would be able to get a religious exemption. I've kind of seen this, and there's the good, bad, and ugly of this. I've seen people who are not very religious try to cajole their pastor in some way to give them a religious exemption. Hadn't seen you in 6 months, hadn't seen you at a Bible study, have no interaction with you. But man, when we need a religious exemption, oh, hallelujah. I love the Lord. You remember that? The Lord is good. These are the Lord's jeeps. And all of a sudden you want a religious exemption. I just, if that's who you are and that's what you need and that's what you'll get. But if that's not who you are, don't use the church. Don't use pastors so that you can get what it is that you want from the church and get your religious exemption. If you're not actually wanting to follow Jesus, wanting to walk in faith, and wanting to figure out how your faith can impact the workplace, virtually, if you're not a missionary in that workplace saying, hey, I got a religious exemption, I didn't get the vaccine, but I'm still working here, and I want to show good faith, and I want to be a light and salt in the place where I'm working, and I want to share Christ, and I want to. If that's not you, maybe you don't need a religious exemption, and you certainly probably don't need to be trying to cajole your pastors to write a religious exemption for you and concoct a story that doesn't actually exist. Maybe you should just be a follower of Christ, an actual follower of Christ. I know it's a revolutionary thought in our society that somebody that actually says that they are a believer actually reads their Bible, actually is biblically literate. We're down to like 6% in our society who are actually biblically literate. Uh, Abysmal numbers of people who actually attend church any given week. Among the largest denomination in the world, the Southern Baptist, you can't find a fraction of them on any given Sunday at a church. And so, we have that issue that's going on there. All right, I got to kind of shut some things down. You could seek a religious exemption or you could adjust your lifestyle. You could say, you know what, I'm not going to work that job anymore. And maybe we don't live in this house anymore. Maybe we don't have these kind of cars, or maybe we don't have the newest and greatest things. We love our affluence when we can continue to support things that support our affluence and our lifestyle. But sometimes we have to make some difficult choices. And we make those choices because the greater good outweighs the choice that we need to make. My wife is awesome. She is incredible. She could teach anything to anybody. I am very well aware of that. But she does not earn an income outside of our house because right now, in that door over there, she's teaching our kids Latin, and she's teaching them logic, and she's teaching them all the different things. God bless the homeschool mothers that are out there, and fathers and families that are out there. Um, I think probably the last hope for our society. And you should just know, full disclosure, I am going to tease homeschoolers like nobody's business because I am one. So if you ever hear me making a joke about homeschoolers, or you probably don't want to negotiate with a terrorist, and you probably don't want to try to get one over on a homeschool mom. For some reason, all the homeschool moms are smarter than me, and I have no idea. Like every one of them has like read these tomes of like. Anyway, that's a whole nother. I'm going to do a whole um, maybe series or couple of shows devoted to homeschoolers because there's the good, bad, and the funny. So we'll get to that a little bit later. But you could have to adjust your lifestyle. Like, we don't live in a mansion, but we're blessed to live in the house that we're in. And we're thankful for everything that God gives us. But we don't have two dual incomes that are pouring into this. I'm an independent artist, and so that I can do shows like this and then travel where I want to and work with who I want to and do whatever the heck I want to do. I make some choices to disregard salaries that could be a lot larger doing with my same skill set so that I can do what it is that I feel like God has called me to do. And so we all need to make some choices, and we need to adjust our lifestyle resonant to our choices. So here you go. That's part one of this series. Part two, tomorrow, I'm going to get into freedom and what that looks like. And then I'm going to also be dealing with some of the things related to our circumstances. But I'll quickly close with this. Not to make this the last thing, but to just make this the thing that. Oh, well, I'll get into that tomorrow. I'll get into that. We're going to talk about freedom tomorrow and the illusion of freedom. Just remember, Satan is trying to punk us. He's trying to slap us in the face. There's a lot of people that got to run. They got to go to work, and I appreciate that. So thank you guys for tuning in today. I apologize. Big Head said you didn't get to all the comments. I did not get to the comments today. I sorry about that. I will do a better job tomorrow of getting to the comments. So you guys, I don't have a co-host on the show. Big Head is not always watching the show. Come back tomorrow, and there's some folks who are concerned about the us against them, and I want to deal with that issue because I think I want to parse that one out. But I think that has to do more with what it is that I want to say about freedom and some of the other categories here. I only got to one of my 4 points, so I'm going to need to speed it up tomorrow. But if you bring your comments, I promise I will be a little bit better at answering those. But I kind of got to get through points 2, 3, and 4 so that I can get to. I think those will answer some of the questions that I left undone today. So that's part one. Part two is coming. It's been a great show. We are sponsored by no one, but you can subscribe to this. And I was excited to know that we went up by about 100 subscribers last season. Hey, if we keep doing that and we keep that energy, that'll be fantastic. So you can follow us on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. Enable the notifications. I want to play a very short clip, and this is our outro here of us at Nehemiah Fest. It's only about 20 seconds, so I wish I had the whole performance there for you. But hey, there's a reminder, you got to come to a show at some point, and we can rock out together. So anyway, it's been the Erskin Music Show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Come back again tomorrow. We will deal with this issue and continue the issue further on as we go through the show. I got 3 more points of this great conspiracy, and it is not the big government conspiracy. It is Satan's conspiracy to distract us and to destroy us. Here's your Nehemiah Fest. Thank you so much to David Lynn and all the folks that are out there. God bless you guys. Erskin Music Show.